seat is occupied by the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Chief Professor Alhaj Dr. Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh. He will be my guest in an exclusive interview. He's just been given the 4th mandate to run this country.
So is that best?
Excellency, thank you very much for affording us this interview. First of all, let me personally and on behalf of the institution I work for, its board and directors, say congratulations for a 4th mandate, and of course Happy New Year as well. And we think we owe you this applause to say congratulations to you. Let me begin with this first question by saying that the year has ended with you having a resounding and unprecedented victory in the just concluded presidential elections. What was responsible for this victory?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله رب العالمين. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to wish every Gambian, irrespective of your political affiliation, a very happy and prosperous New Year. And of course, take this opportunity as well to thank every Gambian, especially progressive, development-oriented Gambians. I also want to thank everybody who participated in one way or the other in the elections, irrespective of which side you were on, because this is a divine duty for everybody to express your civic right and obligation. I also want to wish you, Grts and other media, irrespective of your affiliation, a very happy New Year. Congratulations also for contributing to national development. You asked me a question, what is responsible for? It's the Almighty Allah and the Gambian people. If you ask me what is the reason, I will tell you that the reason is they have seen what we are able to do in 17 years. And they want more. Yes. I think, I don't like talking about what I did, but I think today Gambians are development oriented. Gambians realize that we are in the 21st century, not in the 12th century, and that they realize that the nation is bigger than any tribe, and that the society and the community of Gambians is bigger than any individual. And it is in our collective interest to work together on a progressive system, dynamic leadership, for us to get out of this abject poverty and this vicious circle of eternal backwardness. I think it's high time that Africans realize that by working together progressively on a progressive dynamic leadership, we can get ourselves out of this degrading and crushing poverty, destitution and humiliation. So Gambians have realized that, oh, after all, we can be an economic superpower. And we have the chance of becoming an economic superpower. Why don't we go along? And this is what is responsible for it.
In other words, Gambians have paid you back. They have seen what you've done for them, and they are paying back to you. Mr. President, but at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, you have always called on Gambians to take on the mantle of running the private sector, which they continue to fail to take hold of. When you go to our markets, I'm sure, Mr. President, you're aware, you find a lot of foreigners actually handling the economy in their hands. Are you still very disappointed with that scenario?
Well, let me start from where you started, that Gambians paid me back. I think they didn't pay me back. Gambians are challenging me to do more for them by telling me, we're not letting you go, we want you to do more. So they are not paying me back. They are telling me that they still want my services, and they're challenging me, because the more they vote for me, the more they expect that I will also reciprocate. Now, the Gambians would pay me back when they change attitude. Coming to the point you are talking about. I am disappointed, but I'm not discouraged. I'm determined to change the status quo. Remember that 30 years of a lackadaisical attitude will not be easy to... Human attitudes are very difficult to change, especially when they prevail over 30 years, a 30-year period. They will be very difficult to change overnight or in a short period of time. At least it may take 20 years. But to be quite honest with you, things have changed. And this consolation I have is the fact that a lot of youths are now changing attitude. They're understanding what my message is all about. So unfortunately, when we are talking about going back to the land, people who do not wish themselves well, most of this country, will go around and say, oh, he has no program for you. All he wants is to turn everybody into a fisherman, a carpenter, a farmer, as if that is taboo. What is more honorable than to sweat for your own living? I didn't say go and be a farmer for me. But in any given country, even in the most advanced countries, there are those who are supposed to be farmers, there are those who are supposed to be herdsmen, those who are supposed to be fishermen, those who are supposed to be carpenters, those who are supposed to be tailors. Oh, what I'm saying, I'm not turning a tailor into a carpenter. Oh, what I'm saying is, in whatever area you can do something to contribute to national development and take care of yourself and your family, go and do it. And agriculture is the easiest way, because anybody can be a farmer. And you realize that without going back to the land, there's no way you can ensure a healthy nation. Now, because if you don't, one will say, oh, you can always import. Yes. You import cheap food with a lot of diseases, and this is the problem we're facing today. Obesity has never been a problem in this country. Today it is a problem. Heart diseases were never a problem in this country. Today they are very rampant. Diabetics were unheard of. Today they are rampant. You can even, what is even alarming is that you can see young people suffering from high blood pressure. What future? I'm not discouraged, I'm not scaring anybody. What if a teenager is suffering from high blood pressure? What type of lifestyle do you think he's going to live? All this can only be attributed to what we eat, because our environment is very clean. We are not an industrialized country where you can say it's a result of industrial pollution. Today, children are born with defects, organic defects that are very scary and unheard of in this country. You see such type of defects in industrialized countries, not in a country where you hardly see any industry that is emitting smoking. So what is wrong? Then something is wrong, and what is wrong is maybe in what we eat and what we drink. The water is very clean and pure, so it must be what we eat. So agriculture is very important. Yes, what we are seeing is very discouraging. It's painful when we realize that we spend money to modernize this infrastructure only to find foreigners there. But to find foreigners there is also better than just build them and let it be occupied by goats, because if nobody goes there, it becomes a habitat for goats and sheep and stray dogs. So, but I think Gambians will change attitude. In these 5 years that are coming, there will be no compromise. This lackadaisical attitude, this dependency syndrome will not be accepted, because we have to bring about the economic superpower. It's not going to fall from the sky. No matter how many times we pray to the Almighty Allah, Allah is not going to drop it from the sky. We have to work for it. He has to give us the means and the resources, which He has already given us. I'm not going into details about it. It's a question of changing attitude. This country can develop faster than we think we can develop if we change attitude.
Agriculture continues to be the backbone.
And it will always be the backbone.
Yes. Mr. President, I want to draw your attention to a pilot project you have at Wadna Beach. I think I was fortunate to try probably one or two of the produce there. Looking at the sand there, this is a sandy ground. What is that a pilot project? Turning the beach into arable land. Why did you do that? What were you trying to prove?
Well, first of all, you are wrong to call it a beach. It's partially a beach. It is sandy, yes, but it's not a beach. It's on the coast. Okay, turning a sandy beach into arable land. Because it was a dumping ground for granule cells. And so it has become very fertile. If granule cells were not dumped there, there was no way anybody can use that sand. But because it is very fertile, the only logical use of the land is agriculture. And that's why I'm using it for agricultural purposes. Also, another reason is, when you talk to Banjulian, they tell you don't have a farm. Now, the river, Banjul is an island. What best farm can you ask for other than have a river, an island surrounded by water full of fish? So I'm just saying that, and I also remember when we were in Form 1 Gambia High School, we used to buy sugar cane that used to be grown by a Bambara somewhere, and of course also corn, maize. And I said, because it was grown in a salt, saline land area, it tasted better. So everybody, in fact, even the women that used to sell corn, they used to say, pa Bambara, tan bila kolifin. So I'm just trying to prove a point that if you, wherever you live, if you have land, because most of the time, oh, it's beach, it's the beach, you cannot do anything. I want to prove a point that you can also use the beach for agriculture. Put the, where it is not fertile, you can find a way of making it fertile. Now, if GGC were not dumping granule cells there, and I can still turn it into a fertile agricultural land by putting cattle there. But now, let them not get me wrong. I'm not talking about the pristine beach, sandy beach, and he said, the president is using that. I'm not using that part of the beach. Even the fencing, we allow that clean part of the beach outside of agricultural purpose. But even that sandy, clean beach, you can turn it into an agricultural land, depending on what you want to grow there. In most countries, you go to any beach, you have a lot of coconuts. Coconuts are very expensive. Even the seedling alone is 150. So if you grow these coconuts on the beach, one, it acts as slowing down coastal erosion. In addition, it provides shade as well as a source of income. So any part of this coastal area can be used for agricultural purpose, and it will give. But what I wanted to prove was that anywhere, if you are determined, you can do agriculture. Actually, the the area is going to be turned into an aquacultural farm. But because you need a lot of inputs, we're fixing the place before the aquaculture. That's why I'm saying we are using the land now for agricultural purposes.
Mr. President,
and maybe people like you, maybe if you don't go to Canada, say, oh, the president is fine. Oh, the president is always sitting down. For you to know that I'm not sitting down, you go to, if I go to Denton Bay, come there and see me walk, and then you also walk.
I wish I knew the time you'll be there.
Oh, okay, we'll let you know next time.
Mr. President, let me take you to another crucial area of what I normally hear around, because I do a lot of investigative journalism, just for my own personal consumption. But people say that the back to the land concept could also be like if people have an alternative. Not everybody can be a farmer, but people say they can take the helm of the economic activity of this country if they have an investment bank, a bank that gives them loans on a very small interest. Is your government thinking of coming up with such a bank that gives soft loans? Because the loans in the banks, I know it's business for them though, 24% is rather high.
You know, Malik, in national development, we don't put preconditions. Now, okay, we are saying back to the land. And for anybody to say, I cannot go back to the land, is really strange. Because when we say go back to the land can be used for a variety of reasons other than agriculture. So, the land is the baseline. Whether you have a loan or you don't have a loan, you can go back. Yes, the interest rates are very high, and we're doing our best to bring them down. But this is a global trend. So if we have to have a bank that obviously there would not be an interest-free bank, a commercial bank or an investment bank which will be interest-free, then it will not survive. But even in the event that we have this investment bank, which has almost soft loans, as you said, there will still be people that will not be able to access them because they will not have the collateral. So, for somebody to sit down and say, oh yes, going back to the land is this and that and that. Now, if you don't have collateral, the bank will not give you a loan, soft or hard loan. Now, but you can have a starting point by going back to the land in whatever way you can go back to the land, putting up a banana plantation here and there. Most of the bananas in this country are imported. The vegetables for the hotels, most of it is imported from a semi-desert country, which is an insult. But what is more important is that even if we have an investment bank, which we are going to have very soon, it is still, there will still be people who will not be able to access it because they will not have the collateral. So what we are saying is, go back to the land in whatever way you can make use of the land. That is the simplest, that will be the starting point for you to be able to have a collateral that you can use to access a loan in the bank. Because a bank that will be giving loans free of charge, or not giving money out to investors free of charge, is not going to happen in this country. That's the reality. So even if it's going to be, let's say, interest rate is 10%, we still need a collateral. So, but people want to find a way of not doing something to say, oh yes, it's calling for go back to the land. But we said, in whatever you can do, do it to employ yourself. Now, what education do you need to be a fisherman? How much money do you need to be a fisherman? Even artisanal fishing on the river Gambia is dominated by foreigners. Anything that you can think of, the markets we've built over the years is dominated by foreigners. Gunjur, we spent $12 million for the fisheries project. Go there and find out who are the fishermen. Likewise, Tanje, Bakau. And what is even alarming is the fact that we've given these facilities to the communities that where these facilities are located for them to run for their own benefit. When the infrastructure like the wharves or the jetties have a problem, after 5 years in operation, we expect the community to be able to build their own jetty. They cannot. In some area, they can't even pay for the electricity for the ice plant. After 5 years of existence, I think you also, just recently, the Kama fish market hit the news in a negative way, mismanagement. We're going to change. Operation No Compromise is going to be strengthened. All these institutions that are not functioning because they have been given to the communities, we're going to take them back and forth, parastatals, and employ people. Because we cannot spend $12 million, and at the end of the day, Gambian children cannot have any benefit for it. It goes into the pockets of a few greedy individuals. That is not going to be. In as much as we want to help communities, if the communities are not going to serve the national interest, we're going to take it back and create parastatals that would serve the national interest. And that is exactly what we are going to do. So is the Brikama market. All these fishing projects, we're going to change the management and form a company, a national company responsible for fisheries, and they will manage all this like a parastatal. Because that is in the interest of the people.
We are in 2012 now. What has been your highs and lows of 2011?
Oh, highs and lows. You see, as a president or as an individual?
Let's look at President Sheikh Professor Al-Haj Dr. Yahya Jammeh in a personal way, as somebody out of the office.
Well, we have a lot of blows in
life.
No, in 2011, heinous crimes like murder and rape, and what is even alarming is rape of babies. The murder rate was very high. The rate of rape was very high, and what was alarming is the rape of children under the age of 9 and 10. There were a series of baby dumpings and infanticide. I think 2011 will go down in history as the year with the highest murder rate in the history of since independence, which is unacceptable. Also, the development did not get into the gear I wanted. Whether this Almighty Allah decided it. But we should be thankful, because despite all that, we fared much better than a lot of countries. So we are grateful for that. It's not that whatever you want always is what you get. The highest would have been what? Satellites? The completion of part of the university project, and of course the construction of major roads, But more so, the bridge that everybody thought when I started, and whoever start to build a bridge there will not see the end of it. And it ended, it's completed, and I crossed it. We built 2 vital bridges in 2011. That's the Sankulekunda Bridge and the Sofa Nyama Bridge, because I was always worried about the old bridge, that bridge could collapse at any time. It was a disaster waiting to happen. Thank the Almighty Allah, such a thing happened. But that bridge, the old bridge has always been a source of nightmare for me during the rainy season, because I always think if it collapses during the rainy season, the country would be cut off, because there is no way we can put up something, improvise anything to cross that tributary, because one is very deep and is also very, very weird. So the construction of these 2 main bridges really is high points in 2011, in addition to the construction of key roads in 2011.
Mr. President, let me now take you to the energy sector. And I believe that this is something that everybody kind of talk of. When the light goes off in your house, you blame NAWEC. And some time ago you invited NAWEC here. What is your main thrust when it comes to the energy sector?
Well, the reason behind energy is to make sure that people benefit from it. And you know what? There will be no development without the energy. There will be no sustainable economy without a production base and industrial base. We cannot have an industrial base where there is no electricity that is affordable and accessible and reliable. Now, the main thrust of energy, as far as I'm the Minister of Energy, is 1, to make it available to every Gambian; 2, to make it affordable; 3, to make it sustainable. Now, all the 3 components of it, or objectives, are challenges. You have to make it, that means you have to provide electricity countrywide. That's not a problem for me, because that is what I set. That's the objective I set for myself since 1994, to turn this country into a city-state. And obviously, if you call any country a city-state, it means you have to electrify everywhere. We are working towards that. At least we have achieved maybe 60% of that. Now, but there are major challenges, in the sense that you have a lot of waterways in this country, a lot of tributaries. And so you also have the River Gambia cutting across the country. So, electrify every nook and cranny of this country becomes a big challenge. And also you realize that in some cases, they call them villages, only to find out it's even less than a hamlet, because it's one compound, they call it a side or something. Now, but we are going to get there by the grace of the Almighty Allah. There's nothing stopping, apart from the Almighty Allah, nobody can stop us from achieving that objective of electrifying every part of the country. In so doing, in order to make sure that electricity is available to every person in this country, this is where research has been, feasibility studies have been carried out, the use of alternative, renewable, cheaper natural energy. So, in the process, we're looking at solar energy, we're looking at wind energy, and of course we're looking at other sources of energy that we can use, hydro and others. Then you think of affordability. Obviously, the only way you can ascertain, because you want electricity for everybody, it has to be affordable. Now, this is a challenge, because we are not yet an oil producing country. And so we are also too dependent on fuel, heavy fuel or light fuel, to provide electricity. The fuel prices keep on fluctuating. This is a major challenge. But also, what is more challenging is your refusal to pay your bills. Now we're not getting fuel gratis from anybody. We have to also pay the people that operate the generators, the people that put up the lines. In case there's a problem, the people you call to come and fix it, they are not doing it free of charge. You have to pay them salaries. Now, after using the electricity, you refuse to pay. You're creating problems for it. You are, thwarting the expansion of NAWEC. You're making it difficult for them to provide electricity, even for you, because when there's no fuel, if they cannot afford the fuel, there's no way you can have electricity. So this is the biggest problem we have in this country. People refusing to pay bills. What are we doing about it? We are now aggressively campaigning on bringing prepaid meters, cash power. So this is what we are doing now. But in addition to that, also confounding the problem is the distribution network, which is archaic. And by the time this was set up, the capacity of the electricity generated was much lower. Now, not only do we have an archaic distribution network to contend with, but we also have to contend with illegal connections. This is also another problem. Unfortunately, Gambians would know that some Gambians would report. The majority would not report because of this. I don't want them to say I am the one who reported him. When you don't have electricity, you complain. When the power fluctuates because of the illegal connection, there's a short circuit and it's affecting the network, NAWEC. But you say that, oh, my next neighbor is getting electricity illegally, is connected illegally, and it's a danger to you. Don't talk until there is a short circuit, a big spark, and there is a big fire. And suddenly, oh yes, connection bill, when it is too late. But we will be able to solving by trying to modernize, building a new distribution network and transmission and distribution network, because also we want it to be compatible with international transmission and distribution network, because we have what we call in the pipeline the West Africa Power Pool, where there are plans to build hydroelectric power stations in countries which have waterfalls in order for us to be able to have electricity on the ONDG or on the ECOWAS. So our transmission and distribution network should be such that it is up to international standard. Also, why not? One day we can be a major exporter of electricity. So we have to build the distribution and transmission and distribution network to conform to the day when we can easily export electricity. So, what are we doing? Anything that my government is doing in terms of infrastructure, we build from the present into the future. We don't build from the present to the past. That means whatever infrastructure we're going to build, it will serve us for the next 10 to 15 years without the need for expansion, unless where we are constrained by resources. But this is the philosophy of my government, that whatever infrastructure we build, it will serve the next 10 to 15 years without the need for expansion. So, for transmission and distribution, the next phase will be build something that will be there for the next 30 years. That will not, it will require expansion, because the more power you generate, But it will not. It will just be a question of connecting here, expanding, but not an overhaul of the system, because it will not is old or is not suitable for what we are going to do. Yes.
You have just been given the 4th mandate. What will Gambians expect in the next 5 years from President Jammeh?
Close, nothing short of an economic superpower, or almost an economic superpower in the next 5 years. But provided that we change attitude. This attitudinal change is even more important to me than financial resources. So, what would that mean? Translate into? There will be zero tolerance. The Operation No Compromise will apply to the fight against corruption, the fight against drugs, and the fight against lackadaisical attitude or laissez-faire attitude at the workplace. Many a time I hear nasty complaints about certain offices. In fact, they also dramatize it about the civil service. People come into your office, you are talking on the phone, talking to a relative in somewhere outside, and abandoning what put you there in the first place, and that is you are supposed to work. Two things you are doing which are unacceptable. One, you're not doing your work for which you are paid. And at the same time, you're committing an economic crime by illegally making Gambians lose money, because the telephone you are using to call international, the bill is to be paid by government. So here you are, somebody is waiting, you are supposed to attend to the person, you don't care, you are talking on the phone, so you're not doing your work, somebody is waiting, and it's costing government money. This will be unacceptable. And you go to the RVTH, or any hospital for that matter, what we thought was history is coming back. And that is, you go, the nurses do not care, they sit chatting, and they are very rude. Or the doctor on call is nowhere to be seen, and at the end of the day they are paid salaries. Or they tell you, well, despite the fact that every year we have a huge supply of drugs and pharmaceutical products from 3 different countries that we buy regularly, they tell you, give you a description for you to go and buy from the pharmacy. I'm going to put a stop to all this nonsense this year, not in the 5 years, but this 12 months. A lot of people are going home, and a lot of people are going to jail. I'm not going to relent on Operation No Compromise. So, nurses, doctors that are not willing to work, they better go home before I find them, because they will go to jail. This is unacceptable. A nurse is supposed to be a caring person. If you don't want to work, go home. But you cannot be at the hospital, be paid a salary, and you're not attending to patients. And to add insult to injury, you are being rude to people that are sick. In fact, you cannot be rude to anybody. It's unacceptable, much more when you are rude to a patient. This is not going to happen. The RBTA that are just next door, any day I go there, I'm going to wipe out 3/4 of the nurses there. I'm just taking my time. I've given warning to the minister. I'm giving warning to, we're putting a lot of things also in place, administration also. And this is also a warning not only to the RBH management and administration, but to the entire hospital, medical fraternity in this country. Work or go home. Because if I find you there and I'm supposed to send you home, you're going to jail. It is unacceptable that you are paid to do a job, and instead of doing a job, you are not doing a job, and you're costing the state and taxpayers money. You find them, they are busy techs. Now everybody has a mobile phone. Now, I'm not saying nobody should have a cell phone. But when it is time for work, put your cell phone aside and do your work. An emergency, a patient is being rushed in. You are texting to Mike Jones about somebody's show that is just coming, that you have seen on TV. Or you promised me a ticket and a new dress. Somebody is dying, and you're talking about a show? Hell no. Billahi wala talai. I'll be different from even when I'll be more dangerous than when I was wearing a uniform. Because there are certain attitudes that you know sometimes when you are too lenient, people dance on your head. They will see a different Yaya Jammeh. If you work hard, I have no problems with you. And I'll be with you. I'll support you all the way. But if you don't want to work, go home, please. If you don't want to go home, if I find you there, you're going to regret why you are born. Billahi wala ta'ala. It is a democratic country. If you don't want to work, go home. But you cannot receive pay for no work. And you cannot, instead of a patient, somebody is sick. And you are supposed to be you're supposed to be patient with the guy. You are supposed to be compassionate. And instead of being compassionate and caring, you are being mean and wicked to the person and rude. That's not going to be accepted. I'm not talking about the 5 years, I'm talking about this 2012. Those who are, I'll wipe out almost 82% of those in the workforce, unless they change attitude. And that applies for everywhere. It's not only the medical field, it applies to everywhere. The civil service, the security, everywhere.
Women have played a very important role in your recent election victory, which, as I said, Mr. President, it's unprecedented. You've won all the 40 constituencies in this country. It's never happened before. And women played a very pivotal role in that. Where will you place women in the next 5 years?
You know, sometimes you are very interesting. You are talking as if it's only this election that the women played an important role. All my elections, and even without elections,
They'll be behind you.
the women have played a pivotal role and continue to play a pivotal role. And they will always be in the same place where they are, deep inside my heart. Why? You talked about support. It's not always political support that the women are contributing to the development of this country. Enterprises. Women own key enterprises, and thank God we are big women entrepreneurs thanks to our administration. We have women that own hotels, which was unheard of thanks to my administration. And any socio-economic development project that you can think of, the key players are women in this country. But also more importantly, education that we are talking about. Many a student is going to school thanks to his or her mother. So, you could have had schools where the attendance would be very low because they cannot afford it. And government is not in a position to pay for everybody. And the Ajame also is not in a position to sponsor everybody. But thanks to these Gambian women, young and old, all the development projects, livestock project is the women. Narika project, Operation Konkobai is the women. Any project of significance that you can think of, the SDF, 98% of the SDS funds went to Gambian women. So, I want to build an economic superpower. And here is a reliable force, a dedicated force, a God-fearing force for that matter too. Why? Because all the projects that involve loans, the women paid all their loans and the men refused. We had to threaten some with legal action for them to pay. Now, put yourself in my place. You want to develop a country and you have a natural force that not only support you,